Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do a complete maintenance and rebuild on a Husqvarna all-wheel drive push mower. So if you want to know everything that you need to get this piece of machinery ready for the summer, then stay tuned. Before we get started on the project, make sure you get yourself a good pair of safety glasses and make sure you wear them, because that set of eyes you might save might be your own. So just take my word for it, get a good pair of safety glasses. I also wear a good pair of gloves, at least on one hand, and depending on what I'm doing, I'll wear them on both hands. Sometimes I like to be able to feel things in my hand, so I don't do it. But make sure you put those safety glasses on and you wear them. Okay, the first thing that I do is I just do a visual inspection of the mower. And you know, this mower's been through the summer months and run hard, put away wet, and it's in bad need of some maintenance. So it's just dirty. I'm going to change the air filter, which is located in here. I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to change the spark plug. I'm going to clean everything up, take it all apart. And while I was looking into everything this morning, I actually saw that on the bottom right here, there's actually this is broken. So this support right here, that's for my handle, that support down there has cracked and broken right at the bolt. So I'm probably going to have to go ahead and tear that out and probably weld that up. So I'm going to get busy. I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, get everything tore apart, and it definitely needs it. So I'm going to get the oil, SAE 30. So what's required on this, if you need to know on yours, it's probably going to be on the dipstick somewhere. If not, just reference your owner's manual. But I've got some cleanup work here to do for sure. These tires look like they're pretty worn out, so I'm probably going to either rework those with a router or something and maybe even replace them. So now that I've looked everything over, I'm going to go ahead and get it cleaned up, start tearing it down, and we will be back. When you look underneath this model, this is of course an all-wheel drive Husqvarna. To get to the belts and pulleys and everything that we've got to service and get ready for summer, the blade's got to come off. When this blade is pretty beat up, I'll show you how to touch this blade up, but in my case I think this one's going on 3 years old, so I'm probably going to just go ahead and replace it. But there is a plastic cover here, and then there's the blade, so I've got to take the blade off, and then I've got to get this plastic cover off, clean all of the excess grass and everything off the inside, scrape it down, and then I can get to the pulleys, and also the drain plug is for the motor is also in underneath there as well, and I'm going to change the oil out. I may even take the whole motor off and just make sure everything's good. I don't know, I'm going to get into it and see, but you can see that you know, this one's been through it, and it's got a lot of wrapped around grass and dirt. And Husqvarna is a standard thread. It's not a metric. So this is 9/16. That's what I've got on this. Just make sure you grab hold of the blade and don't cut yourself. Make sure you've got a glove on. And if you need to put something inside this, like a screwdriver or whatever, to hold it, you can. I generally just grab it with my hand, and I can usually break it. It's usually not that difficult on a 9/16 bolt. Get that loosened up there. May or may not take a hammer as well, and I will put a list of everything tool-wise that I use once I'm finished. But generally, you can just pop it like that. It'll come right off. This one's pretty bad shape, but I will show you how to use a side grinder and put an edge back on this, but I'm not so sure how good that's going to be. So I'm going to work on getting this cover off now. I got to clean everything up around here, and then we'll be back. Just about any scraper will do. I generally use this type of scraper. You can get them at Lowe's or Walmart or pretty much anywhere, but I like them because it's got a tip on it and it's got a beveled edge. It's really stiff as well. So when I'm getting into all this, I'll be able to scrape it down really well. But you're going to need some type of a scraper to get this job done. So make sure you grab a scraper. there's a 1/2-inch bolt right here on the plastic cover that's got to come off. I can't find any other ones. There are a couple more, but I don't believe they're involved in the cover. So I think this is the only one. It's a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and snatch that off real quick and see if I can get this plastic cover off. As I was trying to get this cover off, I took this one bolt out. It was still locked in pretty tight. So I went around to the top of the mower and found these two little bolts right here. This one and this one. They both have to come off as well, and that's what holds the underside of that cover. So make sure you get those off on the top, and the one 1/2 inch. Those were very small. Let me see what size those were. They were 5/16. So you got two 5/16 and one 1/2 inch that's got to be taken off. Then that cover should come off. Once I took those two out, those 5/16, and the cover came off, and that gives you exposure for all the belts, pulleys, belts. There's a little bracket here. There's 1, 2, 3 bolts that hold the motor on, and I probably will go ahead and take that off because I don't see an easy way to get to this drain plug. But I'm going to keep working on it and see what's the best way to do it, and we'll keep going. In order to get access to that front-wheel drive cover, this cover here actually goes around, and that covers the front-wheel drive top cover. In order to get access to that, you have to take off two more bolts, one here and one right here, and then there's a couple of snaps right here. Okay, those snaps have to be pushed together, and those two bolts have to be taken off. That gives you access to the front cover and ultimately to this belt. So I'm going to go ahead and get those down and take a look at it from there. And here's the front cover. When I pulled it off, I mean, it is totally packed full. I can't believe how much stuff is in there. But you can see it's just totally packed. And take a look at the belt. The belt is so loose, you can just pull it off. Just like that. There's only a little guide there holding it. Otherwise, it would have just been off. Very, very, really amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep cleaning and keep working on this. See if I can get this everything cleaned up and get this belt out of here. And this is the bolt right here. You have to take this bolt out right here to get to this. It's like a threaded pipe that goes through the bottom up to the top, and what that pipe does is that little piece of metal holds the belt on the other side and keeps it from falling off that pulley. So to get that belt off, you got to take this out. I'm gonna have to dig this out, clean it up, and then push it back through. So it's going to be a little bit more cleanup work to get to that belt and get it off. In order to get access to get the belt off, you've got to remove at least this one pulley right here. It's a 1/2 inch, I think. Let me see. No, it's a 7/16. You got to remove this 7/16 right here. Pull that out of there and pull that pulley off. That gets you access to this. Then we actually have to pull each pulley off, it looks like, to get it out. And I still haven't figured out how to get the one off for the rear wheel drive. But so far, this is a pretty complicated process just to get this belt off and get it replaced. But I mean, you got to do it. I mean, this belt is completely shot, and you saw how the other areas look, so I'm glad I got into it. But we're going to keep working on it, and we'll be back. Continuing on, I'm going to go ahead and remove this bracket, the one that held the 3 pulleys because I've got to be able to access underneath to get to the drain plug. So I might as well just go ahead and take the engine off. There's only 3 bolts to get the engine completely off, and I need to get in under here and clean anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these covers, the one that holds the pulleys. I'm going to go ahead and loosen the engine up off the top. That way I got the engine completely separate, and I can work on this pulley system over here. I've still got to figure out what to do up here to get that out. So I'm probably going to have to break that all down as well. So I'll end up probably breaking everything down on this mower completely. So I'm going to continue on and I'll be back. I went ahead and took the motor off, pretty much gutted everything on the frame, and now I'm going to go ahead and start working on this back all-wheel drive unit because I've got to be able to get that belt out, and so far I haven't been able to get that quite done, but I have to fix this bracket right here because it's broken, and it was also missing a bolt there, and that's what broke the bracket. So I've got to take this stuff off anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get to that, and we'll keep updating you. To get this back cover off here, there's 4 more bolts, and they're these type of bolts that they go into plastic. There's 4 more of them. They're all on the outside. There's one here, one down here on the bottom underneath here, and there's 2 in underneath this cover. Right, one right there, and one down here on the bottom. So there's 4 more of those, well, they're like plastic screw-in type, but they're metal, but they hold plastic. And also, if you look right here, you'll see there's a spring right here. That spring has got to come off as well before this plastic piece can come off. So I'm going to have to take a pair of needle nose pliers and pull that spring off, because that spring is what keeps this, I guess, the tension on this back transmission. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that spring off and then see if I can get this cover slide off and finally get to the back of that belt. So we'll be back. Once I got that cover off and that spring, I could just turn this right around and I have full access now. But I mean, look at the amount of work it took to get everything done to get to this belt, to actually replace this belt. I mean, wow. So anyway, I've got it, and there's a couple of little bitty bolts that hold on these covers. So I'm going to go ahead and take those bolts out, and I'll finally be able to get the belt off and make my parts list, and then I'll head on to town, see if I can pick everything up, and we'll be back. So here's what I ended up with on my parts list. I picked up a new air filter, a new serpentine belt, plug, some cleaning brake fluid. I always use brake fluid for my cleaning. It works really well and it's reasonable. Some SAE 30 oil, and some various nuts and bolts that I actually found that were either missing or broken. So I went ahead and bought a new mower blade because mine was several years old and I had already sharpened it several times. But if yours isn't, what you do is just put that in a vise just like this, and then take a hand grinder, just like what I've got, just a small hand grinder. All you need to do is follow the pattern and just clean up all the edges, smooth them all out, make sure you don't have any big nicks or cuts in the edges, and you can get some pretty good life back out of those mower blades. They tend to last quite a while. But in my case, I went ahead and I bought a new one because mine was pretty much wore out. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it. But if you've got one that's, say, a year or 2 old, there's no reason why you can't throw that in a vise and just hit those edges with a side grinder, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get some other stuff cleaned up, and I will be back. So I've got the platform cleaned up. The back tires are back on. I got a little creative on the back tire, and what I did was I took my side grinder and I just ground out the grooves. So I think I can probably get another round of summer on it, and then those tires will be worn out and I'll have to replace them, but they look pretty good, so I'm going to go with it for now. So now I'm going to go ahead and start working on the engine. I've got to get it all cleaned up. Okay, I've got the engine set up, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a thorough cleaning, and then I'm going to get on the oil, change the oil, and put a new air filter on it, and we'll keep going. I did not find a drain plug anywhere on that Honda engine. So what I ended up doing is going ahead and just putting the spout over a regular catch pan that I had for my vehicles, and I went ahead and drained it right out of the spout where the oil dipstick stays. So I went ahead and just drained it all out that way. I've got pretty much everything done as far as my repair work and everything goes. So I'm going to go ahead and put the engine back on and get everything prepared and turn it up on its side so you can watch me put the belt back on. But basically I think we're ready to assemble now. So I think we're in pretty good shape. So I will be back. I've got the brackets back on. The three engine bolts are back secured. The pulley bracket is back on. This is also a bracket that lines up the engine so it sets where it should on the platform. So I've got them all lined up. I'm going to torque them down. I need to actually find out what the spec is for torquing. I'm not sure. I need to research that real quick. Then I'm going to go ahead and prepare the belt, and then we'll come back and I'll show everyone how to feed that belt back through. I'll be right back. We're ready to feed the new belt on. The only way to do it is from this angle. You see, this is the normal way that the rear axle sets, and the belt sets in like this. So don't turn it up this way and put it on the wrong way. So the belt's got to go on this way on the back like that. Then you've got this bracket here. This is the bracket that I took off before, and it's got the sections that hold this on. If you'll notice right there, there's some stubs sticking out on top and bottom. The stubs help you line the bracket up, just like that. Hook it up on the bottom, and that's the way it should look, just like that. So now I'm going to put those bolts in real quick, and those are very, very small. What was that bolt? It's smaller than a quarter, I believe. So it's one size smaller than a quarter. So they're very, very small. No, they are quarter. They're 1/4 inch. So there's 2 1/4 inch that go into this and hold this on, just like that. So you have to have a 1/4 inch socket or a 1/4 inch, very small 1/4 inch wrench to get this back on. When I'm done with the whole project, I'll lay all the tools out that I used, and I'll make sure that you see all of them. So I'll be right back as soon as I get this back on. One thing I want to caution you on is that these little bolts that you're putting back in, they're going into plastic. Those this rear and the front that holds the transmission part, they're just those screws are just going back into plastic. So don't over torque them. I mean, they do not take a lot, and you're going to strip them out. So be very careful with them. The next thing you need to do is go ahead and feed this through the housing right here so that you can hook it on the front axle. Okay, so that's got to go in through there. I'll take the camera around real quick so you can see the other side. Okay, so you have to feed it through this way, and this feeds right around here, and you want to go ahead and get this on. And then there is this is that holding pin that we took off earlier. I just cleaned it up. It comes in and goes in from the bottom and comes up here and holds this belt on. That was literally all that was holding the belt on before. When I took everything off, it was just full of junk. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and now that we've got this on, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in and tighten it up. That'll hold this one on, the other one's already on, and then we'll start working on the middle. Okay, this holding pin just fits right here in the transmission like this. And you just want to pull up on the belt a little bit. That'll fit right down into that slot. And then there's a bolt that goes right there. I'll grab that bolt real quick. We'll put it in. It goes right here. And it, again, this is going into plastic, so don't over tighten this. Just take it easy. And the threads, you'll know it right away because these threads are made for plastic. So, I mean, it won't take much to over tighten them. So that's all you want to do. That holds that in, which holds the other side and holds the belt on. So that's all you want to do. Don't overdo it. Now we're going to go back over and work on the middle now. Okay, we're going to put the first pulley in. We're going to start on the bottom and we're going to work our way around because that top center one is the one I took off first. So I believe that's the one I'm going to have to nut with it, but I'm not really sure. Now these pulleys always fit the back side, and then the actual shaft of the motor actually is on the inside of the V. So I want to take this one, put it in like that. Slide it up here. Just like that. So that's going to go in and see that holds your belt in just like before. Get the socket, get the right socket in here. Which that isn't it. Seven sixteenths. And I'm not going to snug anything down until I make sure I got the right order, because I'm not quite sure that I've got the right order yet. I just believe I do. So then it runs around the motor, and then this one should slide right up like this, and then this one will go in right here. So we'll go ahead and slide this one up. And I've actually got this on video in case I forgot, but you know, it's kind of, if you just do it step by step, it's going to kind of show you how it needs to go. Okay, so that's in holding it. Now we just have the last one. I'm just going to check it, and I'm pretty sure it goes just like this. Now the last one, it just pushes down and holds it in, because when you pull this on your handle, that's what, you know, gives the tension on this and actually starts both of them driving. You've got a double handle up there. You can actually decide if you want to drive front or back or both. So you should be able to just put this right in that groove like that. Line up the hole. Just like that. That's got everything covered. Everything's locked in. I'm going to go ahead and find out what the torque is for this. And I'm going to go ahead and torque this down. And then I'm going to start on the back, putting all the plastic back in, and I'll go to the front. There's a lot of things back here that need to be done, so I'll have the video going for that so I can show you the little springs and things like that that have to be reattached. So we'll be right back. One thing I just found out the hard way is that this this goes to your lever on the this is your drive lever that goes into this back transmission, if you've got this top pulley in, it's not loose enough to get this in. So I had to take that back out. Now I'm going to go ahead and slide this in there, and it just barely gives enough to slide in there. Then I'll go ahead and put this back in. So remember that when you're doing this. Otherwise, you'll have to do what I just did. Take it all apart again. So I'm going to go ahead and get that back together, but don't forget that there's also a little spring I'll show you in just a minute as well that keeps this springing up at all times. So I'll be right back. Okay, this is the little spring I was talking about right here. This spring goes in on this housing. You'll see exactly where. And then it attaches to this plastic cover right in this corner right here, like that. Okay, so the only way to get this in there that I can see is to work it in this way first. Go in and underneath. Make sure you turn it the right way with this end curving down, and then work it back through there. And I'm just going to set it right up there like that until I can get the plastic shield back in place. And then I'll take a pair of needle nose pliers and hook it onto that plastic shield, and then I'll turn the camera on the other side so you can see it. I wanted to move the camera over and show these two screws that go. This is the cover for the back discharge, and there is a screw that goes in here and a screw that goes in here, and again those are the ones that go into the plastic. So you got to line these up. And remember, you're going into plastic. Just take it easy. I'm going to tighten that down until I get this other one started. By putting these two in, that should help me line up the other two in the underside. So I'm just going to snug those down. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and go back to the other side. I want to hook that spring in. So let me reposition the camera and we'll go at it again. Now again, you've got two more of these plastic screws. One goes in here on the top and one goes in on the bottom, right exactly like the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and get this top one started. A little socket set would be very beneficial for this job, because I don't know if I could have done it without this little very, very small socket set I've got. Okay, snug that up for now. Get this one on the bottom in. I'm going to do my best to show this little spring and how it goes back in there. So here's the spring that we left that spring up on top, and that spring end needs to go right over here into this corner. So I'm just going to grab it, and it actually came loose, so I'm going to have to re-thread it. And I'm going to try to bring it up. It's kind of a pain in the butt. that's how it goes right there. That spring is what actuates that rear transmission and keeps that tension and keeps it from jumping all around and coming loose here. So that is everything on the back end. I've just got to put the cover back on, and then I'll go ahead and move to the front, and then we'll be just about ready to put the oil in and gas this up and give it a shot. Okay, these last two bolts for that top cover, they were the only special ones that I had. They're different from all the others. They don't have a thread going all the way down, but they're a lot longer. So make sure you put the right ones in there. I'm going to go ahead and put this last cover back on. It's got 4 screws that go in it. They're all for plastic. They all go into plastic. 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. So I'll just start the bottom ones real loose, and then I'll go ahead and go on the top and get those started. Okay, that's the last cover. Now all I need to do is put on the new blade, and we'll be ready to put oil and gas in this and give it a shot. When you put this on, don't screw up. It's clearly marked grass side. It's stamped in. It says grass side, grass side. Don't flip it the other way. Okay? And of course it's a star, so you can just push it on through this. I think I'll just go ahead and take that off real quick. Just like that. The bolt, and it's got a couple of washers on it. Okay. I think this is a 9/16. Remember, this is your, you don't want this to be loose because you sure don't want that to come off. So anyway, now we've gotten everything back together again. Everything was repaired. Now all I'm going to do is set this down on the ground, and I'm going to put the oil and new filter. I've already put the new spark plug in, and we're going to give it a shot, see how it runs. Don't forget to reattach this cable. It has to go right here, just like that. Then the wire slides into the slot. Then you just snap it right back in place, just like that. Might want to check it, make sure it works, which it does. So now I'm ready to put the new air filter on, put the clean oil in, and we'll go from there. All right, everything's ready. Got oil in it, gas, everything's been put back together, it's been cleaned up. All we've got left now to do is fire it up and see how it runs. So I think that was a pretty successful project. Here's a quick look at all the parts and materials that I used, other than the actual replacement parts which I showed earlier in the video. Basically these are pretty common tools, hammer, all the different types of wrenches. You need a good set of sockets, a good set of socket wrenches, because it required all 3 sizes. Some were very, very small, So you definitely need a good set of sockets. Needle nose, a couple different screwdrivers, punch, different various cleaning tools, scraper, a couple different types of wire brushes, a couple thorax, wrenches, some memory cloth, plenty of rags, catch pan for the oil. I use the brake clean to do my cleaning on the engine in different areas. I use brake clean quite a bit, and some degreaser. Other than that, just a couple of blocks to set the engine on when I pulled it off, but you don't even have to pull the engine if you don't want to. So this is everything that I used for the job, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, and maybe even consider subscribing. Thank you very much, and have a great day.